Good morning, Moldies. Happy Monday. I'm almost back to being on schedule. I don't guarantee it'll continue, but here we are. Happy Monday. It is sunny out. I'm super excited about that. We are back from sunny Cancun, so I am grateful that it is sunny in Chicago. And I just wanted to talk a little bit more about oxalates because you guys are so funny. You're like, don't tease me. Oxalates are really interesting, and I'm really grateful for Sally Norton and what she's doing with her studying of oxalates, because I've known about oxalates for the last 12 plus years. Probably one of the first tests I did on myself when I got interested in functional medicine was an oat test. And one of the things oat tests tell you is your oxalate levels. So definitely something that I've known for a long time. And I had elevated oxalate levels at that time. But there was really no consensus on the oxalate content of food. And there still isn't, unfortunately. So it is a very confusing territory. It's just, I think it depends on growth conditions. It depends on a variety of different things that are above my pay grade. And that I just can't comprehend. But depending on where you go, oxalate levels are listed differently. So that's why people get so frustrated with it. In general, I know that my biggest oxalate hurdles are potatoes, tomatoes, spinach, celery, and nuts. Because when I look back on my health journey, when I started getting healthy and when I started saying, okay, I'm going to reduce carbohydrates in my diet, I'm going to favor a more fat-based diet, a more ketogenic diet, I started replacing a lot of my snacks with things like nuts. And when I replaced dairy, when I got rid of dairy, I replaced it with things like natural peanut butter because I still wanted something creamy. And what I noticed now is that a lot of the flares that I was having in my body when I was doing these natural things, these things that were better for me, things like juicing, things like increasing my vegetable content, were probably oxalate flares. And they probably weren't Lyme flares or co-infection flares. They were probably oxalates coming out of my body. Interesting to watch, and hearing Sally Norton talk about her journey. Her book, Toxic Superfoods, fabulous. If you haven't bought it or if you haven't downloaded it, you can get it obviously on Audible. You can get the read version. I downloaded it on Audible. We listened to it twice right after it came out. Fascinating. I keep saying we're going to listen to it again, and then I get new things that I'm listening to, but really interesting stuff. So she definitely had pain that her initial was vulvodynia, but it migrated into spinal and bone pain, kind of all over stuff. So it's just interesting to see her journey as she went through eliminating oxalates slowly and gradually and pulling them out of her body to the point where now she is just celebrated. She can actually wear high heels again because her feet are not killing her. So oxalates are a defensive chemical that certain substances produce in order to stop other things from eating them. Found in vegetables, found in nuts, found in legumes, found a little bit in certain fruits. So you can obviously reference some different levels of oxalate through Sally's book. She has a pretty comprehensive list, because obviously they don't agree. So I think it's the reason that carnivores do so well, because they get rid of putting more oxalates into the tank. And then we look at what binds to oxalates. Things that bind to oxalates are calcium. Things that bind to oxalates are potassium. Things that bind to oxalates are magnesium. So when you're having a flare, one of the best things you can do is on the hour or every other hour is give yourself potassium, magnesium, calcium citrate. Vitamin C, high in oxalates. And I know a lot of people flare if they do a high dose vitamin C. I actually am at the point where I don't even have it. If I'm going to have like a hydration formula or a Myers, I'll ask them to do it without vitamin C because I don't want any of that. I don't take vitamin C when I'm feeling unwell. I will add citrus. I will do natural vitamin C, but I will not do ascorbic acid. I will not do vitamin C. I don't want anything that's going to precipitate additional oxalates. Interesting part, obviously, in my world and in your guys' world is mold species and mycotoxins produce oxalates to protect themselves. So one of the ways that we are better able to deal with a moldy environment is by purifying our body, by getting the oxalates out. And then hopefully we won't trigger as quickly when we go into a moldy building. Sally hypothesizes that our genes predispose us to be super reactive to the oxalates, and that's where the mold really affects us. I'm hoping that once we get rid of all of our oxalates, we can go wherever we want and have no fear that we're going to have a mold flare. So that's my hope. So by reducing oxalates and by introducing things like exosomes that help build us up, I'm hoping that we, even my most reactive, my most chemically sensitive patients, can start living wherever and whenever and not having to be quite so ridiculous in terms of their environment. So hopefully that gives you a good overview. I'm sure I will continue to talk about oxalates ad nauseum because I talk about them all the time. I hope you guys have a beautiful Monday. I hope everything goes your way and it's all sunshine and rainbows. Sending you so much love today and always. If this makes sense to you and you want to share it with your friends and family to tell them a little bit more about functional medicine and why you do the things you do, please go ahead. I love it. Sending you so much love. Have a beautiful Monday.